platform. Some platform of our partnerships are already doing it on their own. They can do it on their own. And lastly, we help the conventional businesses to get the stable coins from the Web3 platforms and then convert them into fiat currency. And once they have to do the repayments, they also can take our help and do it do the on-ramping exercise again. So we are sort of a bridge between the two sides. Conventional businesses and the on-chain capital companies or platforms. And this is the whole thing, and this is where we become certainly a frontier to this revolution of DeFi and RWA, which is known as real-world assets. These are the markets we are operating, or we will be soon operating. We started from Pakistan, UAE. We'll be moving to the Saudi market as well. But more importantly, if you'll see the RWA debt financing market, that is where we are tapping in the most, and which is a huge $232 billion worth market. There are estimates that over $3 trillion worth tokenized assets will be in the world by 2030. So we would like to pursue more on this side rather than the conventional side. Let's talk about our growth metrics, our numbers, our impact. First of all, I'll talk about the green impact we are generating. One cycle of invoice generation to invoice financing yields 1,000 grams of carbon footprint. So that's, first of all, we are minimizing, are eliminating. So that's the first impact I would like to highlight about our project. It's all end-to-end digital. The whole process is happening on the digital platform. Next up is, till date, we have done $114 million worth invoicing amount processed already on our platform. We have processed around 2.5 million worth dollars as well for the lending, and of course that helped us to get the revenues as well. And of course, you want to see more about our dashboard. I think next time I'll bring a QR code so you can scan and see our live dashboard as well, how this bridge actually is performing. It's not a white paper, it's not something, a pilot, a POC, it's a live project doing actual implementation of blockchain and Web3 in the conventional world. Partnerships are on the both sides of the world, like CeFi and DeFi, and of course the partnerships with the supply chains, which is helping us to get a lot of bulk acquisitions of SMEs in one go. This will be also good to see, if you can just make the play button. Something futuristic. If it's not, then of course we can play it. There might be a play button. No? Okay, but anyways, I'll come up with this video maybe later. So it is basically a metaverse environment which we are creating to give another channel of interaction between the lending institutions and the borrowing businesses. Moving forward, yeah. If you just, yeah. All right. So in a nutshell, we are an enabler for the financial inclusion. So we're taking 4 out of 17 United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, right? So about our competitive advantage, we are coming up with the true innovation. We are not replica of any Silicon Valley success story or like a startup from a Southeast Asia or some other part of the world. It's a homegrown UAE-based startup coming with a unique selling proposition of KYI, which can become a big industry on its own. This is an amazing team with me, having deep roots in the conventional finance and the real-world asset tokenization Web3 world. We are backed by the leading accelerator programs of the region, Mohammed bin Rashid Innovation Fund, BCP Labs from Germany, Crypto Aces, Venture Building, then DIFC Accelerator Program, and finally, of course, Definity Foundation from Switzerland as well. Lastly, our philosophy is not to be a unicorn. We are working with from the get-go, we are working on a camel corn strategy that is basically to keep the sustainability first, the resilience first, and then the burn later. So would like you to join us in this journey as a partner, as some kind of a collaborator to build this camel corn further. Thank you very much.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Any questions? All right.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. So let's have another presentation from Nadja. Anwar? Do you know the presentation?
Hey everybody, welcome to Dubai if you're not from here, and if you're from here, well, please welcome me because I just landed yesterday. Happy to be talking with you today about the creator economy in Web3. Now, before I begin, I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Nadja Bester, the co-founder of Adlunum. We are a Web3 accelerator and a launchpad. Now, if you're not super familiar with what exactly that means, I think Web3 Accelerator is probably pretty straightforward. We work with early stage startups, especially focusing on fundraising. So between the seed funding stage all the way up to the retail round, which is where the launchpad aspect comes in. So if you're not familiar with the term, a launchpad is a platform where retail investors are able to invest into crypto. So with that as a context, maybe also just to further that a little bit, so what we are doing, do you give me 1 minute? I just want to get some water, just excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, sure. Oh, can you change it? Okay, can you change it over? So what we offer, we have an investor network that we typically connect startups with for fundraising. We also have an extensive partnership network. Here are some of the companies that we work with. Also have an exchange network, market maker network, advisory network, media partnerships network. So really we offer a full suite of support to startups between, like I said, this really crucial early ideation stage all the way up to getting them the funding that they require. So with that in mind, I'd like to focus our attention today on the creator economy and what that means for Web3 and maybe via Web3. Now, to start us off, if I say creator economy, what does that evoke in you? Is it some buzzword that you hear on every marketing article that's out there promising you that the future of something is here and it's going to revolutionize, which is also the way that people speak about Web3, right? So in terms of the creator economy, I want us to think about the fact that I don't think there's a single person here today who's not in some shape or form part of this creator economy already. Now, does that mean that you have to be a creator? What does it even mean to be a creator in this day and age? If you have opened any social platform this morning, you have been at least a consumer of the creator economy. Because there are people out there all across the world creating content, influencers, small business owners, large businesses, all generating content that contributes to this mass of information that we are really inundated with today. So a lot of the trends that we are seeing in marketing and really in the broader business landscape has moved the needle from, of course, top-down businesses telling you, this is how I want you to think, this is how I want you to feel, to now today, very much the empowerment of how you live your life is down to you. Post-COVID, people have tasted what it feels like to have a remote working lifestyle. They don't want to go back to the office. If they do go back to the office, they have a very, very different understanding of what work means to them, pre-COVID and post-COVID. So there's a lot of macro shifts that have been happening in the economy. And the creator economy is really just a reflection of that. So when I talk about the creator economy, I'm not talking about this buzzword that, appears on the headlines. What I'm really referring to is the fact that there's a massive shift in society at the moment, happening right now as we speak, where people are starting to decide, you know what, all of these things that have worked for me previously, now this is everything from being answerable to a boss that says I have to sit at my desk 8 to 5, no matter what I'm doing or not doing there, at least I need to be seen to be at the office, all the way to the algorithms that essentially control our lives. You talk about the conspiracy theories and, the dark, shady overlords, like the puppet masters pulling the strings. Well, that's the algorithms. So we are faced with a world in which there are monumental changes coming. Of course, AI is another topic of discussion that is also going to introduce massive changes in the world. Now, how does Web3 tie into all of this? At Adlunum, we work with a whole basket case of different products and different founders, startups doing very different things within the Web3 ecosystem. So there are startups who are Web3 native, the degens, if you know the term. They very much focus on the hype or the Web3 specific integrations that to most people would make no sense. If you meet one of those guys, they explain their business model to you, unless you understand A, what Web3 is and what it's all about, and B, really the intricacies of how all of these moving parts fit together, there won't be a lot of conversation that you could have with them, because really every second word would be something that you would need to look up. But then on the other hand, we have the other sort of main category of people, and these are average people from other industries, whether they are business owners already, whether they are creators already, whether they are employees, now starting to see, but wait, the sands are shifting, something is changing. I don't necessarily understand this technology, but I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try and figure it out. Now, some of these people become founders in the Web3 space, others not so much yet become Web3 users. Of course, adoption is really, really early. But I think what this spells for the medium to long-term future of the global economy is really what I want to focus on. Because as I said, if we talk about creator economy, it seems like a very specific thing to talk about. Oh, it's those influencers on Instagram. But now, if you look at really what Web3 is, the fact that it's ownership of my data, that puts a very different spin on what it means to be in the creator economy. Because right now, if you post on LinkedIn, I don't know who of you uses LinkedIn, but if you do, you know that it takes quite a bit of time, quite a bit of effort. You have to post, you have to comment, you have to engage on other people's posts. And what if LinkedIn decides, and this has happened to many people, maybe even to some of you, LinkedIn decides that no, for some obscure reason, you will not have access to your account starting right now. And that's it. It's gone. All of the social capital that you've built up, just like that, is over. So I think this really is, if you think about the marriage between Web3 and the creator economy, is the fact that some people who have been creators in the Web2 space, here let's talk about influencers, they have put in massive amounts of work to create content for platforms where they don't own their own brand. They might own the text on the platform, on the profile. They might own the content that's put on the profile, but they don't actually own their presence on the platform. Now that is the key difference between Web3 as a concept and the world that we've all come to accept as inevitable and unchanging. So what I've seen over, I would say, the last year or so, maybe a little more, that we've been in a very challenging market in the Web3 space. Now, I don't know how familiar you guys are with crypto, but crypto definitely has not had the best reputation in the world. Why are creators not hurrying over and signing up for Web3 products? Well, crypto has a lot of problems, right? It's unsafe. A lot of times, if you don't know what you're doing, it's unsafe. It's complicated. It's confusing. It makes you feel like you need a degree in economics or in, mathematics or whatever it is that you are part of in the Web3 or being exposed to in the Web3 space. So there's a lot of barriers to entry for creators. And by creators, I don't mean only those people making a living out of creating content. Because think about it, how many people in your life are creating content for online platforms without being an influencer? I know I do. I'm pretty sure some of you do, and especially the younger the people in your life, the more the ratio goes up. And there's zero compensation, which is okay. We come from a world where we are used to getting no compensation for the things that we do. Not that it's okay, but that's what we've grown used to. But the ownership of it is really, really concerning. So the difference that I've been seeing over, I would say, the last year or so, that we've been in a very challenging market in terms of crypto, is that a lot of people have come into the space and have said, you know what, I don't like how crypto is being done, but I like what the technology is doing, so I'm going to start doing it a little bit differently. And so the market has been shifting so much over the last, I would say probably 2 years, since COVID, everything has been shifting in the world anyway. But so really my invitation to you today is, however your personal sentiment about Web3, about crypto, about blockchain, keep in mind that we are incredibly, incredibly early. And so when you are early, there's a lot of wild, crazy ideas that might come to fruition, might not. There's a lot of ambiguity about many different concepts that you don't understand and moving parts that you don't quite understand yet how they fit in together. But I can promise you, over the next 10 years, we are going to see a fundamental shift in the way that thinking is done. Thinking about how we show up in the world in terms of, I'm part of this big ecosystem, but what is my role in it? If I use social media, and we do, what does that mean for me? Does it mean that I'm okay for the rest of my social media usage with having no self-empowerment in terms of what tomorrow is going to look like for me on this platform? No, I'm not standing here saying, oh, by the way, I have a great solution, because I really don't. We are too early. There's no great solutions yet for creators, for Web3 as a whole, because we are so early. But I think the key really to remember is, imagine this. 10 years ago, the Bitcoin, I think it's more than 10 years ago, the Bitcoin white paper came out. If someone had handed you that white paper right then and there, could you have predicted that a few days ago there was an ETF approved? No way. Change feels like it takes a really long time to come to fruition. But once the snowball effect starts, it's unstoppable. Now in society, we have these massive changes happening in the undercurrents right now. I always find it almost shocking when I talk to people who don't work in tech, when they don't understand things or know about things that I find extremely basic. I'll use an example. Facebook launched Threads, the new social media app, and I was talking to a friend the other day. She'd never heard of Threads. She didn't even know that it had been launched. Now to me, I mean, I check the movement and the growth and the, because that's my realm. So in the same way, maybe today you are sitting here and whatever your opinion is about all of these technologies, about the industry, but really start asking yourself, what is the role of Web3 going to be, even in the symbolic sense, in your own future and the future of your business? Because the questions that we need to start asking ourselves is, do we want to be at the front of the line? Or do we want to be the laggards at the back, waking up one day and saying, oh, damn, should have done that a bit sooner, probably. So the good thing is the fact that Web3 as an industry and a technology is really early. So you have time. We all have a little bit of time. But at the same time, what in your business and in your business models right now do you think is not going to be sustainable due to the trends that society is undergoing? Now, it's not possible to know this. I mean, if we did, we would probably not be sitting here. We'd be on some holy mountain with a line of people coming to us, worshipping us. But in the absence of having absolute clarity and certainty about what the future is going to hold, I would highly, highly recommend that if you look at Web3, don't only stare yourself blind in the hype and the highs and the lows and the glitz and the glam and the scandals, because there's a lot of things that can entertain you, but there's also a lot of things that can keep you away from really thinking about these things at a conceptual level that is going to make a massive impact in your future and the future of your business. And certainly this is something that, as I said, I've been seeing over the last year. I've been in crypto since 2017, so for me it feels like it's been a really long time. But then I talk to people coming in now, and I realize it's the same. Because having had all this experience, fantastic, but the market no longer looks the same as it did in 2017, or in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Last year does not look the same what this year is going to look like. So changes are happening, and changes are happening quite fast, but it's a slow, fast change. So you have the ability to catch up and slide in and start going with whatever current of your choosing. But really, I would absolutely encourage and recommend that if you are going to start thinking about these technologies, which obviously you already are because you're sitting here today, think broad. Think about impacts and implications that perhaps are not apparent to you right now. Talk to as many people in this industry doing as many things that you don't understand and you are not even interested in. Because I think the key really, if you want to have a broad overview of what the future is going to hold, we need to look at people that are building solutions to problems. Now, those solutions might not be the solutions that are going to be used. They might not be solutions that will even work. But by having a mass amount of people focus on solution building to society's biggest problems, that is where you might find sweet spots for your personal and business lives. So with that, thank you very much. Happy to be here, happy to see the fantastic turnout, even though, yeah, we could probably all be on the Dubai beach. So I don't know if anyone here goes to the beach in the day. It seems a bit hot. Lovely to connect with you. Have a nice conference.
Do we have any question? Yes, we have.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for the lovely presentation. I really enjoyed it. So thinking about, you said the future in 10 years. So changing the way to think. You're right. And thinking about the technology today, the way it's working, sorry for using this word, but sometimes in a very manipulative way. And so where do you see the balance between the new technology that is developing today and the way to change thinking that I think, using your words, is something that we need to do right now, so waiting and what's happening in 10 years, sorry. And I like also the example that you made about LinkedIn, suddenly switch off the access, I don't know. And finally, and personally, I think that I'm going to feel lost because, I mean, LinkedIn is my job as well. So how do you think should be the right compromise between the technology today, the way we should start thinking, changing the way we think? You already said something, but I'd like to understand a bit more your perspective on the balance between the two of them. Thank you.
So, you know, there's this, apparently it's not a real Chinese curse, but, you know, the one that you hear on the internet, one of those viral fake truths, where they say there's a Chinese proverb or curse that say, may you live in interesting times. So I think we definitely are in an epoch where we are living in interesting times. It's almost gotten to the point where if you look at the news and you look at what's happening, it feels like you woke up in a reality TV show movie and someone's going to come to you in a few minutes and say, hey, you're a contestant, you know, do your best. Unfortunately, no one pops out, so you just keep on like trying to figure out what's going on. So definitely we are in a time where the only certainty is uncertainty. The only constant is change. So I think in terms of, when we talk about the concept of resilience, what does it mean to be resilient? What does it mean to be future-proof? I mean, people who are very, very smart in very many different modalities have written a lot about what these definitions are and what they involve. But I would say personally that the more we get comfortable with what we have or how things are, the more of a danger we become to ourselves. And you can think about this when you were a student and you needed to have money to pay for a date. How creative were you? How creative were you in making sure that, you know, whatever your goal is, that you could reach and achieve that goal? And then as you get older, of course, you don't have to go out there and make plans to go on a date because now you have the liquidity to easily do it. And so similarly, that agility that you have when you are young and wanting to go on this date gives you a completely different mindset than someone who already accepts that they know how the world works. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday that when I was growing up, I had a very firm idea of how I thought life works, based on the magazines and my grandmother's house and, you know, the 1 hour of TV a day that I watched and eavesdropping on adults' conversations. And I thought I had it down. I knew exactly what was going to happen. And then as soon as I graduated, the world changed. Not my understanding of it, although I had a very limited understanding, granted, but the entire world changed. So whatever I had picked up was no longer relevant. Now I'll tell you an anecdote to answer your question. I started working in what was then called digital marketing. Now we don't call it digital because, I mean, all marketing includes a digital aspect. About, what is it, more than 10 years ago now. Now, I had a marketing agency, and then I would speak to clients, and I would try and convince them why they should have a website. I would create beautiful presentations, one of which went viral on the internet, by the way, about why you should have social media platforms as a business. I mean, why you should be on social media platforms. And businesses didn't really want to bite. I got arguments like, well, Coca-Cola can have a website, sure. I don't see why I should have one. Or, are you crazy? Do you really think like people are going to message me on Facebook? I'm a business. Now, if you know what the world looks like today, those arguments are ridiculous. It's like saying, oh, planes will never fly, right? So the change, the accelerated pace of change, I've experienced personally in my professional life over the last 10 years. Now, similarly, whatever change has happened in the past 10 years, 100x that for the next 10 years. I mean, if you have experienced COVID, you have experienced the experience of a lifetime that the world can come to a standstill at will with no explanation that makes sense. The world just shuts down. So what more to say about all of the other vulnerable areas of your life? Your industry, your business, your client base. I mean, even you personally, whatever your life circumstances look like, there is massive change up ahead for all of us. Now, how to prepare for something that you have absolutely no idea how to prepare for? I mean, that's ludicrous, right? So I think for me, the one thing that really always helps me out is to expect that tomorrow is probably not going to look like today. So that really helps. You know, if as soon as I get too comfortable, the news of something hits me in the face. So the more that I prepare for the unexpected, how do you prepare for the unexpected? It's not like there's a checklist. I think this is really the mindset that needs to change, is we need to understand that whatever we've been led to believe is the recipe for whatever is not actually that recipe. Because it takes one disruptor to come along and eradicate the recipe off the face of the planet. You look at all the disruptors and all the different verticals and all the different industries, and it's the same story, right? I mean, OpenAI very recently is a good example. When the OpenAI ChatGPT boom happened, did you notice how many AI businesses came out of nowhere and all of which were charging, SaaS membership fees? And then as soon as ChatGPT upgraded and those functionalities that these services were offering became native to ChatGPT, those businesses were no longer relevant at all. Now, you can't predict what's going to happen in the future, but I think the key thing is to understand what is happening. Because I would much rather, I saw Napoleon on the weekend, so I'm going to use an example from Napoleon. I'd much rather see my enemy coming from 1,000 kilometers away and can prepare for their arrival than to be sleeping in the middle of the night and to get taken out in my tent. So I think that really is what it comes down to. As I said earlier, whatever your understanding or your opinion of Web3, you might super much agree with it, you might super much be against it, although Jamie Dimon is not in the room today, so I think we won't get such pushback. There is going to be societal change because of Web3. Now, this is inevitable. It's not going to happen soon, and I can definitely vouch for this in the sense that mass adoption we have a lot of growing pains to focus on before mass adoption comes. But think about the people that you meet on a daily basis. Some of them, as I said, are Web3 degens. They're all into Web3. You don't understand a single word that comes out of their mouth. Other people are from governments. People are from large corporations. All of these individuals and businesses and entities are looking at technology to try and understand how they are going to create the future. Now, you are not going to be sitting at these roundtables likely with these people talking about, how to make decisions for the world at large. You are going to be part of the group of people that will be affected by these changes. So for me, the question is always, do I want to know what's coming, or do I want to be taken by surprise? And I think really, so that was a very long answer to your question, but I think really the key is, I have no idea how to prepare for 10 years from now, But I know the only thing I can prepare for is to know that it's going to be very different than my life today. So I don't want to get too comfortable in my life today because it's not going to last long. Same goes for my business, same goes for society and my participation in it. So that really is, I think the key is just be open, be curious, and keep a very close ear to the ground in terms of, you know, what's being developed and what's being spoken about. Because you won't see the change today, but yeah, a few years from now, and we'll all have that moment of going, wow, okay, so that happened. And yeah, be prepared. Any other questions? Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely day.
Thank you so much. So on behalf of World Finance Council, I'm happy to honor you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Now, let's move to the next exciting session, which is by Mr. Salman Anjum. And for this, I would like to invite Saloi on the stage and Mohammed Salman Anjum.
Hi everyone. We will be now discussing the case study between the partnerships we did as InvoiceMate and TradeFinix. You have heard both of us in the morning in the earlier sessions, and now we'll discuss how we are actually doing it. We are also joined by our innovation lead, Mohammed Ibrahim. Over to Salva. Now she will be doing this we'll do a quick question and answer session, and we'd also love to have you on board with us having this dialogue together. Over to Salva.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We touched base this morning about the theory behind what we are doing. So now we're going to discuss a real life case study. Can you provide a brief summary with the InvoiceMate and TradeFinix pilot you've been working on?
Right, so TradeFinix is the Web3 platform for enabling the liquidity for digital assets. And we are the front gate or gateway to connect those digital assets to them, and they can share their liquidity for the cash flow efficiency of the businesses. So that was the intent. We started our pilot back in December last year. Originally, it was meant for one transaction, and of course, we scaled it to 3 transactions. Now we are looking forward. Of course, later we'll discuss what's the roadmap ahead, but I'll just keep our discussion till date about our pilot. And the 3 transactions we did were enabling us how this bridge can be formed between the conventional world's real world asset, our invoices, and the liquidity of the Web3 world.
Thank you. So what were the main objectives of this private credit pilot on the XDC network?
So the primary objective was, of course, the Web3 platforms were enabling the investments and the lending to, till date, not to the conventional world's assets. They were targeting, I would say it loud, meme coins. They were targeting some NFTs, which were having very little application. I'm not saying they were wrong in their approach, but it was not a scalable approach. It was not an approach which was bringing impact to the real world. The intention of this pilot was to experience that how the Web3 liquidity can be moving towards the real world, and that's how we started. And till date, we've been having a very good success on it.
Thank you. What are the challenges that this pilot tried to address when it comes to private credit?
So a lot of challenges at the moment, and the major challenge is lack of education in terms of SMEs, because it's working, yeah. So SMEs, traditional SMEs, they're not familiar with the terminologies of crypto, the processes of how to on-ramp, off-ramp, cryptocurrencies to fiat. So that was one of the biggest challenge that we had to face. Also, some minor challenges here and there, but I think in the long run, the process will be much more smoother, and the SMEs will definitely be looking forward to have an alternative credit line from crypto LPs.
Thank you. In terms of TradeFinex being open to Web3 standards, specifically, how this is addressing the challenges you had to deal with?
Yeah, so I'll bifurcate the challenges into macro and micro. Macro was again relevant to the industry, education, as Ibrahim mentioned, and also regulations as well. So education, regulation, these are the missing links at the moment. Again, not absolute blank, but yeah, there is a lot of scope of this to address this challenge. And then comes the like how the other challenges we are tackling, the technology relevant challenges are there. So still there is a like awareness campaign which is required. This is one exercise we would like to do more often in different events of blockchain, Web3, industry events, to orient people that now this world of Web3 is accessible. It's not only for the crypto community. Yes, it was for a larger part of the last 6-7 years since the advent, but now they want to reach out to the conventional businesses, the shops of this mall next to us, the businesses right across in the Dera, right across in the Bar Dubai. So this is the time now they are ready. We need to be having an access, and we can be like as an InvoiceMate, we can be the access or the bridge point for you to connect with this Web3 platform and Web3 liquidity.
Thank you. Why did you decide specifically to do this with TradeFinex?
Right. So that's an interesting question. So I think we met Shanlong and you in October or November. I think November, October. Yeah. Time flies. Yeah. Yeah. So we saw that you guys are one of the most progressive crypto LPs that are actively seeking out partners to enable working capital finance for SMEs and traditional SMEs, not just Web3 use cases. So that's one thing that we saw from your side, that okay, that you have an appetite for Web3, non-Web3 SMEs. Additionally, there was the regulatory aspect as well, since you guys are regulated in DIFC, ADGM, which is a key part in connecting the crypto world to the traditional SME world. So I think these two elements were the most important ones.
Yeah, I'll echo the second one, because again, it's very hard to find out regulated liquidity providers or the Web3 platforms. Yes, there are so many out there in the world, but regulation is the key for us, at least to connect them with the conventional businesses, because they want term sheets, loan agreements, and a lot of like the Web3 platforms, they don't have this. The compliance layer, the KYC layer, the due diligence layer is a missing link there. And here, the TradeFinex was open to that, and this is the major reasons why we have partnered with them earlier for the pilot, and now why we are moving forward for a scalable roadmap in this year and following years as well.
Thank you. How are you leveraging blockchain to improve your private credit processes?
Yeah, I'll take that first, because again, the reason why we wanted to bring InvoiceMate, one of the objective was to showcase that blockchain can solve the problems of conventional businesses. And there is a utility of blockchain in InvoiceMate. We were not using it, or we are not using it for the sake of a buzzword. It was a buzzword back in when we started this project, but no more. It's a proper utility now. So it's serving as a single source of truth between TradeFinex. I'll keep to this application of our case study, our pilot. So they know that whatever asset or invoice we are bringing, it is posted already on the blockchain. We have not tampered as a medium, as a e-invoicing software. The vendor and client who were part of that business that was involved for that invoice were already posting that on the blockchain. So they have the trail of that asset, its provenance, its authenticity, its ownership, current ownership, its settlement status, its other areas. So they have the confidence now. So to enable this confidence to our lending partners, our liquidity partners like Trade Phoenix, we had to use blockchain. And that's the reason that we see that blockchain can solve the problem of conventional businesses by integrating their business data, posting that on the blockchain, serving as a single source of growth for the parties like Trade Phoenix and other Web3 platform or conventional banks as well.
What are the key steps you had to take to actually execute this pilot?
So it all starts from acquiring the SME. So we have, that's one of our value propositions, that what we do is we acquire SMEs that are looking for working capital finance. And the most integral part is the due diligence, because every business, especially SMEs, is looking for a short-term loan. Every SME you go, you can just ask around in the mall as well. If you offer them credit, they will get on it. But the most important part is the due diligence and the KYI, as we mentioned earlier. So that was the most integral part, and with our refined process of due diligence, we have established trust of Trade Phoenix and also our other lending partners. So that's I would say the most important part.
And how did you select precisely, your participants in this pilot?
Right. So out of the three, all three have different sectors. One is in commodities, one is in power, and the third one is in trucking, actually. So all three different sectors, and one thing they all have in common is a history of repayments, loan repayments, and a history of good credit practices. So we focus on having a complete overview of the business, and we do the complete due diligence with the KYC, KYB, and also KYI. So if a business has checked all the boxes, then we consider them as a potential candidate for the lending services.
So what are the success metrics generated here and that you use to evaluate the pilot?
The first one will be the processing time. Of course, the first case took some time. Of course, it was an ironing we were doing for this process. But of course, the next two were smoother. They were like having the layer of efficiency. So the first metrics, of course, is how quickly we can enable the credit access to the businesses from the conventional banks and the financing institutions. That's the first success metrics we are aiming at. The second, of course, will be the how in the future interactions with the same borrowers, we can scale their limits, we can downgrade their the interest rates or the markups. So these will be the success metrics, how quickly they do the repayments, how we can bring the overall cost of lending, overall time taking for that process of lending, we can bring it down. So these are the success metrics we are aiming at.
How this solution did affect the user experience for all parties involved?
So the user experience, I would say, for the first time was a bit of a rocky road. But now that we are seeing is we have acquired more and more SMEs that are now actually looking for crypto LPs rather than conventional LPs. The only reason being because crypto LPs are faster. If you apply for a loan in a traditional bank, it could take up to minimum 2 weeks and up to a month just for the processing. While crypto is 24/7 and there's no downtime, it actually fastens up the processing time of the applications as well, and also the approval as well.
So what was the feedback from the users?
So a lot of education. I would say a lot of education. They were in the start, some were a bit reluctant because crypto is still a taboo. Even in this part of the world, people saying it's legal, if it's not legal, and so on and so forth. So it's still a bit of a taboo. But once they got through the process, it was a slow one in the start, but then things took pace. But once they completed the process, I think it was a positive interaction in general.
So based on this experience, how do you see the scalability of the whole thing?
So the scalability, in my opinion, is huge. There's a lot of untapped, around $1.5 trillion worth of untapped liquidity in the crypto market. And if we can even use 10% of that liquidity to enable SMEs with private credit, I think we can make a real impact in traditional business through the power of on-chain capital.
Yeah, I was saying this morning, I think the latest figure between 2.5 and 5 trillion. So it's even more than that. And it has increased during the COVID period. Are you going to extend any more pilot, or are you going full-scale operation? What are the plans?
Yeah, the plan is to go full scale now. A lot of learning has been acquired through this pilot phase, and now planning to go full scale. We have already gone with the draft of the roadmap for 2024, which includes not just the UAE SMEs to get this liquidity from the Web3 platforms. We are also be bringing the SMEs from Saudi, and of course next year we can scale it up to the other parts of the region as well.
So what were the key lessons you've learned going through this experience?
I would just like to add one key lesson that I would not say it's a lesson, but it's sort of like a door opener for the future of financial markets. It's cross-border financing. It's basically, we've processed a case which was in India, and also they had a company in Estonia. Because of crypto liquidity, we could do that and we could finance those cases. But if it was conventional bank, it would have been a nightmare to do the legalities, compliance processes, and so on and so forth. But through this channel of tokenizing real-world assets and financing them through crypto liquidity, we can definitely advance in cross-border trade.
Thank you. So in terms of on-ramp, off-ramp, how did you go about it?
So we had a third-party partner by the name of Encrypton, which was referred by TradeFinex, and they were really helpful in off-ramping the FXD, which is the native stablecoin of the XDC chain, and they off-ramped FXD to USD in fiat to our borrowers' bank accounts, and same process vice versa for the on-ramping as well.
So what were the challenges in the integration? Because obviously you had no integration with them.
Yeah, so a lot of manual back and forth in the beginning, and moving forward, this is a lesson that we learned that, okay, full-scale integration is required, because operationally it was quite challenging with the back and forth between our team and their team, and confusion, miscommunications. So that's one of the key learning, that, okay, an integration is integral for the scalability of the process.
And also the standardization. So the standardizing the whole process. We are doing something which is not been done before. So yeah, first step will be to standardize the process, to streamline it for the user, make it more user friendly and seamless for them, and then of course take it to the integration between the platforms. So end to end it has to be a digital journey, and between, not just between the client with us, client with the entire chain. Like for example, next tier is the intermediary helping off-ramping, on-ramping. They have to be also on the same platform. The TradeFinex integration has to be on the same basis as well. So this will be the goal for this year, to make it a seamless experience for the borrowing businesses to reach out to the platforms like TradeFinex.
Thank you. So just to conclude, before lunchtime, how do you envision the future of private credit, and how is this revolutionary for MSMEs in your view? Because at the end of the day, we're here to discuss the future of fintech.
Okay, so I'll just highlight on one point, which is private credit from crypto LPs is enabling SMEs to tap into a market that has never tapped in before, right? Banks, they're neglected by the banks severely, and with this, I would say, lenient sort of environment in the crypto space, they can now access to capital and grow their business. So in a sense, on-chain capital is actually helping grow off-chain businesses. So that is, I think, in my opinion, the highlight of this thing.
And we discussed it with the Dubai SME Authority, which is the authority helping here the SMEs of Dubai, and they have a huge role to play in that. So we had couple of meetings already with them, and they have asked us to give a comprehensive proposal for to scale this thing. And this is, as we discussed, it's from from on-chain capital to the off-chain businesses. It's something very new. It's something very disruptive. Access to the liquidity of this side, it was like lacking, and again got into the streamline now. So yeah, this is the future, and we're trying to enforce it or enable it for the community, and looking forward to have more partners coming up front and help us in this pursuit.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Well, I think everyone is hungry. Thank you for being a listening ear, being so close to lunch. I'll give the mic to our colleague.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So on behalf of World Finance Council, I request Saloi to honor both the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will resume again after a lunch break, and it's in the Idrak on the same floor. Thank you.